Republic Commando is one of those games that people would kill for a sequel to. Hailed as one of, if not the best Star Wars game, praised for its excellent characters and a very well written and engaging plot, shockingly competent, useful, and deadly squad AI, and tactical shooter combat that is perfectly described as Halo with a little bit of Rainbow Six. One of the only negative things any critic has ever said about this game is that it's too short. It launched back in 2005, and yet, 15 years later, this game still holds a cult following and many great experiences and memories with everyone who's ever played it. Before we get into the meat of this, I want to get something out of the way first. This game is a tactical shooter, a genre in which there are relatively few games, and not all of them are that fun or well received. This leaves a fairly small pool of competing games, meaning it's easier to place higher in the list of best tactical shooters, but let me assure you, this game does not receive so much praise because it's high up on the list of tactical shooters or because of its Star Wars license. This game is so thoroughly loved by its fans because it is, in almost every aspect, badass. But why? Why is Star Wars Republic Commando so awesome? Top off your back to tanks and grab some thermal detonators because we're going energy balls deep into this. Right off the bat, presentation. This opening is one of the best from the beginning till now time skip, jump cut cinematics I've ever seen in any video game ever. From your birth, to school, to training, to meeting your team, to gearing up, to riding out on your first mission as the player, this satisfactorily sums up everything you need to know about who and what you are, what your purpose is, who your team is, in an interesting and lore-accurate way, in less than 3 minutes, and all from the player's perspective. Which is the running theme for this game. The camera never leaves your character. It's always you and what you see, and that's it. Regardless of if that ends up making it to where you might not be able to see a bombastic set piece, like, say, a Trade Federation ship getting blown up.
Beautiful. Thanks for the assistance, Captain.
Glad to be of service, Delta Squad.
No one steals a ship from the Republic while we're around.
To expound on our current topic of storytelling a little bit, pacing. The pacing in this game is superb. From the varying lengths of combat to each mission's opening briefing. Not once in Republic Commando have I ever been in a firefight where I was thinking, oh my god, when is this fight going to be over? Because I was tired or exhausted of it. I have, however, thought, oh my god, when's this firefight going to be over? Because I ran out of ammo in my DC-17 about 3 Trandoshans ago, and this pistol just ain't cutting it. It's crazy how different almost every combat engagement is. Not only is there usually several ways of handling the engagement, barring a few of the endurance fights, and the fact that every area you throw down in is significantly different enough to never make it feel like you're fighting through the exact same thing over and over again. That alone is something most games can't even do today. Maps don't feel like building blocks pieced together at random. They feel thoughtfully crafted, like each area has a purpose, and with that purpose comes a flow of gameplay that caters to the pacing in an organic and natural way. Organic and natural pacing. Word salad doesn't actually mean anything, right? Let me prove my point. Take this scene here. You're presented the battlefield. You're informed that there are droid dispensers being launched and will be landing in your bay. You can look out of the atmosphere shield to see this happening in real time. There's no arbitrary clock or timer. There's no forced, we have to go there and do this, or you get a game over screen. There's you and your team in an area that they gave you only moments to survey. Now you get to see your adversary coming directly at you, and there's nothing you can do except prepare for their very inevitable arrival. This is a loading bay. There are fuel cells laying around, and crates stacked and ready for loading. You set up proximity traps on the explosive fuel cells and order Delta Team to take up defensive positions among the crates. The first dispenser lands and you make a dash to plant the charges before too many droids are released, and you won't be able to handle the overwhelming amount of droids before the next dispenser lands. The second dispenser enters the bay, and you realize you can place a charge to overload the atmosphere shield and prevent any other dispensers from making it into the bay. You decide that overloading the shield and preventing further enemy reinforcements is more important than dealing with the already landed dispenser that is, as we speak, churning out super battle droids. An enemy that not only tanks damage, but can also ruin your day with a wrist rocket in addition to its already powerful laser. You deal with the shield yourself, but order one of your team to stop providing cover fire and place a charge on that dispenser. After overloading the shield, preventing the third dispenser that was only moments away from invading the hangar, you turn your attention to the dispenser to detonate the charge on it, and oh crap, it's already gotten several droids out. You recklessly detonate the charge while Sev is too close to the blast radius and he goes down. One member down, but there's no more droids coming. So you can clean up what's left and revive him. Wow, that would have sucked if more of them landed, huh? Check yourself, look for ammo, heal up, and get down to Hangar C, and is that a Trandoshan? Not sure where he thought he was going, but Hangar C's right here, and is that a battle droid? Where did he... They're already in the hangar. They're already in the hangar spitting droids out, and there's more on the way. You have to get down there now. Destroying those dispensers takes too long and leaves you exposed. Is there a way to maybe speeder bike? Hack the terminal and send that thing into the dispenser for an easy kill. But there's more on the way. Order one of your squad to plant a charge on the shield and deal with the new dispenser yourself. Wait, more droids are already coming through the door. They're already in Hangar D and have released so many droids that they're already advancing on you. Get down there and, oh, super battle droids in an enclosed space. Deal with them and continue on, and oh, here comes droidicas. We just went through 3 different hangars, and yet, even though they all had the same basic objective, they were so different in their level design, the amount of pressure put on the player, the layout of the area, and the general difficulty, that it doesn't even occur to you that you just did the same thing 3 times in a row. Because it didn't feel like the same thing 3 times in a row. Why? Because of the pacing. The ever-increasing tempo from 90 to 160 shits per minute, while knowing full well that the longer you take to complete that objective, the more enemies you're going to have to fight through, with little ammo and soldiers that have already been hurt. This really turns a, do I really have to do this again, into a, how am I going to get there without getting ventilated by a super battle droid? The repeated objective is subservient to the gameplay surrounding it. Sufficiently changing the gameplay essentially changes the repeated objective into something else entirely. Where most games would have you just go through some sort of transition, like running to the next area to begin another engagement, Republic Commando does what I wish more games would do. Make the player scramble. Have enemies that can actually pose a threat to the player. And instead of artificially increasing the difficulty by limiting the player, just throw even more of those dangerous enemies at them and allow the player to do everything they've learned up until this point to overcome the situation. And this is the organic flow I was talking about. You've learned, adapted, and have become a better player. And they just keep ramping up the enemies to make absolutely sure every situation is just at the very edge of your abilities. You don't get a shooting gallery. You get enemies that you have to respect, and the tempo of the game rests solely on your abilities as the player. The pacing is organic because it only goes as fast as you do, while still providing a very real challenge in the form of enemies that can actually kill you in a situation that you have to gain control of. I know this part of the video is taking a long time, but understanding one of the best aspects of the game is necessary to understand why this game is so awesome and why so many people remember it so fondly. Let's take a break from the heavy stuff and cleanse the palate with a little gunplay. This game only has a small handful of weapons, the majority of which you have to pick up off of enemies or are dropped somewhere on the map. Some of those only appear on certain maps from certain enemies, and you can really only find extra ammo for a few of them. You do, however, have 2 main weapons that you will always have, a pistol and a blaster. The pistol's garbage, but it has unlimited ammo, and the blaster is actually an interchangeable weapon system. This thing is your main rifle, your sniper, and an anti-armor grenade launcher, and it fills every single one of those roles perfectly. From handling and feeling good to use, to being sufficiently powerful enough that you could choose to not bother using any of the other weapons and fare just fine. That's not to say the other weapons aren't worth it though. Let's take a look at some of the other weapons and the role they fill. The first you'll find is the Elite Beam weapon. It does devastating damage, but has a relatively small energy capacity, meaning you won't be using it for very long when you do pick it up. Next up is one that you won't be seeing until the next chapter of the game, the Accelerated Charged Particle Array Gun, or more simply put, the shotgun.
An energy weapon that looks like a slug thrower. I didn't think lizards were that nostalgic.
This thing is, well, very situational. It is really only effective against biological enemies, and only when they are very close. Excellent for the close quarters in the second chapter of the game when there's only the slavers after you, but when the droids start showing up, don't even bother. After that, we have the Accelerated Charged Particle Repeater, or the SMG. Similar to the shotgun, this thing can cut through shields but does minimal damage to non-biological targets. Its inaccuracy but high rate of fire puts it almost on parity with the shotgun in terms of DPS, and because of the inaccuracy, sometimes even in range. Right after your encounter with one of the heavy Trandoshan slavers,
What in death's name is that?
Look out! We need reinforcements! Look, Commando, we sure could use your help, sir. Die, you cold-blooded...
you'll have the chance to get your hands on the heavy Accelerated Charged Particle Repeater. Again, only being fully effective versus biological targets. This thing is essentially a heavy machine gun and does to living creatures exactly what you think it would. The last weapon we're going to talk about for now is the concussion rifle. Whatever you point this thing at and pull the trigger usually doesn't exist for much longer. It fires out a concussive energy charge that implodes on impact and explodes for good area damage. The best part of this weapon is it doesn't matter what type of enemy you point this at. It's an equal opportunity annihilator. Let's move on to the most praised part of this game, your squad. If you've heard anything about this game, there's a pretty good chance it was about the characters, whether it was about how lovable and well written they are, or about how they can actually handle themselves in combat very well. Starting with that first point, there's a bit of backstory during the development of the game where LucasArts scrapped the original characters and completely rewrote them to give them all the personalities that we know and love today, while development of the game was already well underway. This would prove to be an excellent decision. However, if you'd like to hear about that entire situation, there's a video by Gamers, spelled with a V, that explains the development in depth, including the decision to rewrite the characters. It's a very well made video, great production value, and is absolutely worth checking out. I will leave a link to that in the description below. However, you play as 1138, aka Boss, the leader of Delta Team. You take your position as seriously as you should, being direct and concise while also taking the well-being of your squad into account.
Seb, can you read me? Come in, Seb. Blast. 40-6-2, come in. Be on the lookout for armed hostiles. I think we've got Trandoshans. They've taken down 7. Delta Squad, come in.
You're 3-8, 40.
Your squad consists of 3 other commandos, all equally as capable and intelligent. First up, we've got 1140, aka Fixer. This guy is a by-the-book soldier, so formal in his sense of military hierarchy that he calls the team by their designated numbers rather than by their familial nicknames. Though he's usually quiet, he'll take it upon himself to chastise the other members of the team when they banter rather than focusing on the task at hand. There's even times when he'll throw out some passive-aggressive, sir, shouldn't it be done this way, at you for not going entirely by the book. Next, we have 1262, aka Scorch, resident joker and pyromaniac. When he's not making jokes about the situation at hand, it's only because he's picking on one of the other members of the team. His jokes can easily be misconstrued as fatalism. When you're in a terrible situation and someone might say, "Don't worry, we'll make it out of this," Scorch will most likely say something like,
We'll make them regret the day they blew up Delta Squad.
Lastly, we have 1207, aka Sev, the Ice Cold Killer. Just in case his grim sense of humor and the constant remarks on killing things didn't sell you on the fact that this guy is all death all the time, even his armor is painted in crimson blood red. This doesn't mean he neglects his brothers, and can often be heard joking around with Scorch, until Fixer tells them to shut up, that is. Regardless of any individual squad member's personality or tendencies, when the shooting starts, they move, fight, and overcome as a team. No amount of Scorch teasing will ever make Fixer hesitate to run to his brother's aid when he goes down in a firefight, and no amount of Sev's bloodlust will ever force him to run ahead or put the squad in any danger. Delta Team is just that, a team, and it would take something big to get them to ever leave a man behind. That leaves us with the last thing we'll be going over, the story. Unfortunately, just like the critics said back when this game launched, it is way too short. This game takes place during the beginning of the Clone Wars. In fact, your very first mission takes place during the very first Republic invasion of the war. Linking up with the rest of your squad, you'll be carrying out sabotage missions deep into enemy territory to give the invading forces the advantage, as well as assassinating one of the enemy's generals. These first few missions may be tutorials, but after they're done, you can expect the difficulty to ramp up quickly. The second campaign is where the game really starts to get dark. Investigating a Republic ship that had gone silent, you come face to face with a new and ruthless enemy. Fighting your way through the ship, you'll find small pockets of surviving crew members, of which very few live long enough to tell you what's going on. Trying to link up with the rest of your squad and even having to save two of them, you'll realize pretty quickly that it just keeps getting worse, especially when a Trade Federation ship exits hyperspace right next to the almost derelict ship coming to claim its prize.
The riddance to bad lizards.
Delta, the Separatists could be here any minute.
I see it. A Trade Federation battleship.
You
Yeah,
back
not even you
now.
can see into hyperspace, Sev.
No, it's on the edge of the system. Take a look.
Oh, blast.
This will be a challenge.
I'm sending out a distress signal. We can't wait for help from Coruscant.
Advance to the next hangar and set up a defense. Move!
Reactivating the ship's automated turrets to try and at least go down with a fight, another Republic warship jumps into the area and opens fire on the trade ship. The combined firepower of both Republic vessels proves too much for the enemy ship. For the first time, someone had to save you. The third and final campaign has you dropping onto Kashyyyk, the Wookiee homeworld, answering a cry for help. The Trandoshan slavers have established camps and are enslaving Wookiees en masse. Baffling as it is to think that the Wookiees wouldn't be able to handle themselves, as it turns out, the Trandoshan slavers and mercenaries have the aid of separatist weaponry and droids. Your task is to rescue the Wookiee chieftain Tarful. Fighting your way through the slaver camps, you stumble upon a starfighter. Hardly unusual, but this one seems familiar. Rerouting to get a better look, you learn it is none other than General Grievous's ship, the general of the droid army. Realizing he's been made, he begins to make his escape. You're now tasked with making sure that doesn't happen. On your way to the landing pad, you happen to find Tarful, the Wookiee chieftain you need to save, as he's being dragged off by Magna guards to Grievous's ship. Grievous gets away, and you've just survived a battle with two of his bodyguards. But at least Tarful is safe. He'll give the Republic the vital information they need to assist the Wookiees in defending their homeworld. You return to your common directive of sabotaging the enemy, heading off to destroy a Trandoshan supply depot. Worse comes to worse, and you're fighting through hordes of the most elite Separatist forces and weaponry, with only the sporadic assistance of Wookiee forces. Not wasting a moment during the ever-increasing pressure of the droid and Trandoshan forces, you turn your attention to the CIS ship. Splitting the team up, you all make your way to the heavy AA guns, requiring all 4 of them to even have a chance of destroying the Separatist destroyer that is holding position over the planet. Battling unending waves of elite enemies every step of the way, you barely make it to your turret, firing all 4 in sync and destroying the enemy's main presence above the city. Delta Squad's advisor orders your team to rendezvous at your position, and all but 1 make it. Receiving a broken transmission from Sev, it's clear he's under attack, and wounded, if not dead.
Regroup at 3/8 position for exfil.
Boss, I've got a problem here.
Sev, where are you?
Multiple hostiles.
Lost his signal, boss.
We'll find it again, damn it. Squad.
Preparing to rescue him, the commander orders that they return to their gunship and prepare for their next mission. Unable to accept that order, this is what happens next.
Regroup. We're going after Sev.
Negative 3/8. New orders came through from the Jedi generals. Clear the area. Evac now.
I don't care if they came from Master Yoda himself.
As a matter of fact, they did, soldier. Now get your squad out of there. Blast our orders. 40? He's right, boss. We gotta evac. Sir, we have to go back. Delta Lead, get your men under control. 1 commando is not worth risking an entire operation.
1 commando? He's talking about my pod brother.
Hold on, advisor. What do you mean, an entire operation?
Your team was the advance force for a full-scale Republic invasion. I had strict orders not to tell you. It was your reconnaissance, your intel that verified the operation. And now the invasion has begun.
Republic assault ship on Vector 6. Hostiles to starboard, ready guns. Firing solution in 2 seconds. Watch it, Bravo Leader, they're on your tail. Twin starfighters, incoming at 0 Mark 27. Look out!
Boss, look! It's the invasion force.
Taking the city was only the beginning.
I've never seen so many ships before.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'll patch you through right away. Listen up, Deltas.
All Republic forces, establish forward command in Kajiro.
Is that really who I think it is?
Rendezvous with Delta Squad, we must. Upon them, we wrest Macho, Wookiee freedom. Must not be sacrificed.
Sorry, Deltas. Looks like it's back to the action. You have your orders.
Delta Squad, lock and load.
The war doesn't stop because one of your men died. You are not the center of this world. You are merely a single cog in the machine of millions. You weren't born for this. You were made for it. A clone. Expendable. The gameplay, the characters, the story, the immersive atmosphere, just about everything. All of these things are what makes Star Wars Republic Commando so awesome. If you've never played it, you can pick it up on Steam for only $10. But that's it for this video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like on it. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel. This is Mitchell Godsend. Have a good one.